Welcome to the Liminal Lounge podcast. I'm Nikki, a queer neurodivergent shadow worker, subconscious coach, business and content mentor, hypnotherapist, and astrologer in Boston. Here we live in the both and space, and we dive into the darkness to achieve massive transformations while keeping it light and never taking ourselves too seriously. We operate through a trauma-informed lens and work towards radical self-acceptance and responsibility. We're here to learn self-trust. So come on, dive into the void with us. Hello. Welcome to episode 1 of the Liminal Lounge. I am just insanely excited. I really don't know how else to describe this. I'm not going to go into all of the past times that I've attempted to have a podcast and what that has looked like. Just know that on that like November or December of last year, or maybe even early 2023, I whipped out my ring light, my phone, I set it up, I had an Audacity track going so that I could have the good with my mic, so that I could have the good audio, and I recorded 111 for an hour, and I was like, I'm gonna cut up this episode, I'm gonna put out little reels, and I'm gonna have a weekly podcast. And guess what didn't happen? And for all of the right reasons. Especially on day 3, it's been 4 days of kind of a gnarly Mercury retrograde. So will this podcast ever make it to the light of day? Will I have to record this? Will something go wrong? But I am proof that you really do not need to stop your whole life. Let me model that for you. You don't need to stop your whole life during, especially a Mercury retrograde. It's not what that's about, but that's a whole other episode. And the issue with the 1 hour episode was that I'm not editing that. And I can be honest about that. But also, I think it would be a good challenge for me in terms of my clarity and succinctness. Now, of course, this is the liminal space. We love the both and. We love rambles. I have a whole episode coming up next about like why hypnotherapy is so good for neurodivergent people, because following those rambles are so important. But I think I want to at least start with like 20-30 minute episodes. I actually have a timer going for 20 minutes, and my goal is to have half of the episode be like general education about the topic, and then the second half be my personal experience. So, in case you don't know me from before, this one will be a little bit like 5 minutes longer, just because, there's the intro. And you might have heard the lovely intro that I feel so good about the wording. I feel so good about my brand. Thank you, Captolia from Witch and Famous, and that whole amazing community, that course, for really helping me after 4 years of constant manifesting generator pivots and shifts, really and being a whole different person, having different values, having different beliefs. Here I am, I already was gay when I started my business, but I'm even gayer somehow, and fully a witch. you know, just fully that. Um, so that intro, this whole, like, if I told myself when I first started my business that I would have a podcast called the Liminal Lounge and I would be a shadow worker and I'm all about the darkness, like, I was afraid of the dark, you know? I still sometimes am, and that's okay. Because what do we do here? We make space for it all. That's what the darkness is to me, but I'm going to get into that. That is the episode, is like, what is shadow work? But yeah, I live in Boston. I'm 28. I just turned 28. I'm a 29-degree Leo. So my birthday's August 23rd. And I am, you know, a body positive, gay, as stated. What's my identity? Just call me queer. Just do that. Gender, sexuality, just... And you know what? And this is a whole other episode. You know what is very shadow work? Oops, I keep hitting my microphone. Is very limited, liminal space, gay queerness. It's all a spectrum. Like, I say this with my friend Carly all the time, who's an amazing artist and a budding Jew witch, you know, what have you, if you will. She and I talk about how the gray areas are very colorful. I don't see a difference between the shadow and colorfulness. And we'll get there. But queer, neurodivergent, I don't have an official diagnosis, but, you know, I live in my brain every day. That's not normal. Yeah, and I'm just out here recovering from people pleasing, recovering from hustle culture and perfectionism and diet culture and strict Catholicism and just all of the things, to be the exact opposite of that. Authenticity is my whole thing. I started my business as a social media manager because I enjoyed creating, like, writing and, you know, a lot of social media managers, I do enjoy marketing, but, you know, it's like, okay, what's a late stage capitalism job for an artist, a creative, a writer, you know? But I love it. I love that work. I work at a cafe and I do our social media, and food social media is very fun. And then I also work for my friend's agency. So I've worked in PR agencies in the past. So it's very cool to create their content for a social media agency. I'm drinking a Poppy right now. We love gut health and we love soda. So today, what do I do? Well, I think you kind of get my gist so far, right? But I currently work with clients privately, book a subconscious assessment to get started. I do business and life coaching. It's all subconscious coaching. You can be a business owner, you can not be a business owner. I've had them all. I do one-off sessions that can either be astrology or human design sessions or blended, or a hypnosis session. We have many kinds of hypnosis sessions, or a coaching session. And I'm building a membership that will launch soon after this podcast starts, called The Void. And it has it all. It has coaching, it has hypnotherapy, it has astrology, everything that you're going to need to break through where you're currently stuck like, you're not doing what you want to be doing. You don't stand up for yourself in the way that you want to. You are not going after something that you want to. You haven't started a project that you want to, because you are competing with who you know you are inside and what the world wants you to be, and you're getting clearer and clearer on your true self, and that's come from time that comes with time after time of just feeling not good, trauma, feeling on the outskirts, being on the outskirts even, and of society, of everything, of society. And there's been some patterns that you've picked up along the way by living through that trauma, and you have all of that, but you still have hope and a dream and a desire and a passion to live life that you want to, whether that is run your own company, whether that's be a creative, whether that's changing your current career, whether that is going after what you want in love, friendship, whether it's just changing your mindset not mindset. I don't really like that word. Healing your subconscious patterns. That's more like it. To do whatever the frick you want. It's 10:30. It's the adult tour. So we can say whatever the hell we want. Don't want to make anyone... Okay. Does anyone else watch I Think You Should Leave? Okay. That was a quote, but we're going to rein it in a little bit. My Discord just went off. I'm gay. Okay. So today we are talking about what shadow work is, because that's some shit I'm going to be talking about. I don't know where I'm looking this whole time if you're watching the video. I think I'm staring at the sound waves on my Audacity, because what did I do before? Like, should I look in the camera? What did I do? What am I going to do? What is an activity that I'm going to do prior to every single episode? Mary Jane, the Devil's Lettuce. You would trust me. You don't want it any other way. This is the best version of myself. And we love that. So I'm going to be talking about it a lot. So I think we should add that context, because you may have heard the term shadow work. Because also, if I know anything about you, you are also scouring the internet for reasons why you are the way you are and you feel the way you do. And for community and for connection, which is why I want to make the membership, which is why I am making the membership. Nikki, stop touching your microphone. Sound design 101. Because I'm a Leo sun in the 11th house, and a Cancer midheaven conjunct my moon. So, 10th house. What all that means is that my sun in the 11th house means it is like a part of my identity to be a connector and a networker. And like nothing warms my heart more than when my one-on-one clients would meet each other just through following each other, because I just attract the most like-minded people, or I host a group course, or I just love my business so much. I'm so happy. Or I collaborate with Andrea all the time, who used to be my coach, and now we're cursed besties. Let's not forget about that. And we have a course together, so our audiences are always and like when they hire each other, when they become friends, when they collaborate, I could cry. Or when like I refer someone to someone else as a service or a friend and it goes well, shedding tears of all kinds. So listen, I'm an only child. A lot of my time growing up was spent online, and I was always searching for online community. So I really love that Y2K nostalgia that's coming up as of recent, because it's very nostalgic to me. Just gonna sip my water. And it's why I love building online community now. And I grew up during a time where the internet wasn't a, like, influencing became a thing when or like content creation became a thing when I was like 14, 16, 15, 14. People were very skeptical of it around that time, like 2013. No, 2011. Anyway, but so the fact that I get to build community is very important, and yeah. So you're lucky. Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. Um, so what is shadow? So the shadow is, I am a believer in, or like a lot of the lens that I do my work is through parts work, which there's a different specific types of parks work. I usually do internal family systems, but overall it is the idea that when we feel conflicted and we're like, part of me feels this way, but another part of me feels that way, those parts have their own needs, desires, goals, thoughts, consciousness, identities. And, usually they're acting from things that have happened to you in the past. They're trying to protect you, and there's different in ways in which they protect you. And there's not in IFS a part called the shadow. But I would say that the shadow is a part of you. Like, there's managers, exiles, and firefighters. And these parts of you can act from a motivation, like a shadow motivation. I really see them as motivations. The reason why they're doing something, because you can go to the gym every day at 6 a.m. for a good motivation, or you can go from a shadow motivation, which would be like oh, I need to lose weight because of external pressure, and I just want to fit in, but it has nothing to do to actually help you. And that part of you, it's doing that maybe because you were bullied for your weight when you were younger, or you saw your mom on Weight Watchers her whole life and it ruined her happiness, and you saw that happen, and you just don't want that to happen to you. So the manager is going to add pressure and busy work. And busy tasking basically can be good. There can be good ways. There's two ends to everything. And even with the managers specifically, it's good to have a part of you that is keeping you on track with things for you to do. But what are the activities they're having you do, and what are the activities they're going to have you do, and why, what for, to what end? How is that helping you? I could chunk up, chunk down, which is, I could like make these questions really broad or really specific. I could ask them all day. And that's what coaching is. So, and that in itself is shadow work. So, shadow is motivation. Shadow is why. It's when you are not like honoring yourself. It's when you're acting from a place of not honoring yourself and doing something for someone else. When you're abandoning yourself, when you're putting the self in the shadow, in the dark, when you don't let the self bejeweled. That's a Swifty Gaylor joke. When you put the self in the basement. Okay, I'm done. And shadow work is the most effective vehicle for transforming out of those habits, for not acting from a shadow place a majority of the time or about one thing. I'm also a believer, which is like, I think healing is lifelong. I think therapy is lifelong. Not even in the sense that we're so fucked up that we have so much to work through, we need all of our lives. There, it doesn't have to even necessarily include like trauma to get over, but it's like, if you have a goal, your human brain is designed, it doesn't have to be tied to experience, it usually is, and that's just the most effective. But if, the human mind is going to come up with a bunch of thoughts that will stop you from doing the goal just because it's afraid, because XYZ, it wants to keep us safe. And there's threats out there everywhere, even if it's ourselves, even if it's our own thoughts and or projections. But I think shadow work is the most effective vehicle, because at the core of every way that we are stopping ourselves, that you are stopping yourself from doing what you want to do, is a shadow motivation that comes from a traumatic experience, or the experience that you had the first time that you solidified a belief. And that core experience then you have similar experiences that further and further and further solidify that belief attached to that experience. And usually that belief is a thought that is stopping you from, the thing that pops in your head when you are thinking about doing, that thing that you want to do. And so it's kind of like a little, it's like what gets buried and pushed down. It's like you are pushing down something until it gets hidden. We forget about it. The more things that get piled on top of that initial experience that are similar to the initial experience further solidify that belief for you. And it makes it harder to unpack just with regular conversation, just with conscious coaching, just with traditional therapy. And I think all coaching and therapy in hypnosis is very important. I think hypnosis is effective, more effective in a shorter amount of time. But also not everyone's right for hypnosis. More so in the sense that like it requires a high level of trust between the practitioner and the student, or not the student, the client. And you have to be open to it. It's gonna work if your subconscious wants to do this work. But you can be blocked off. You can think it's woo-woo, which nothing's wrong with some woo-woo, but it's literally scientific. Your subconscious will understand everything, but you need to consent to it, and there needs to be trust. So it's kind of like diving deep into the ocean and going to the treasure chest, and the pearl is this initial root cause experience that is stopping you from doing what you need to do. And doing what you want to do. And it's also causing you to act in a way that is keeping you from your best life. So if we can go swim through the treacherous waters and get that pearl, then you have the key, and everything affects everything. Like, I'm going to talk about this now, in a bit, in a couple minutes, about my personal connection to this topic. But I had a hypnotherapy session with my mentor, because we receive, I received in front of the group, because I've already got my hypnosis certification 2 years ago, but I'm refreshing my skills. And, somebody has to basically be coached in front of the group to be an example. And you get some, you get some bonus coaching on it. And I decided I have my love life that I'm figuring how I feel out about. And then I have, launching stuff in my business again. Exciting projects. And I was like, but I know they're connected. So, like, once I open myself up to love, then I open myself up to money more, and vice versa. And there's these paths are it's receiving and taking up space. You're receiving love, you're receiving money, whatever it is, they're connected. So once we retrieve that pearl also is connected to a bunch of other pearls and a bunch of other treasures if your subconscious, again, is a deep ocean with buried treasure in it, and that treasure is root causes that, if you heal them, then you get out of your own damn way. So then you just start to do stuff that you have never done before. Or, like, you just start to be less triggered around things. You start to, like, and these are things like standing up for yourself and setting boundaries, whatever it is. You sort of be like, okay, who is that? What was that? And it's because there's not that block there anymore. So that's why I'm a hypnotherapist, because I'm a shadow worker, and I'm a shadow worker because I'm a hypnotherapist, and vice versa. Because I just think it's so effective, and I just think I was afraid of so many things my whole life. And I was afraid of so many things my whole life. And I really think it's cool that I just face my fears every day. The fears are the shadows. Like, we are afraid of unpacking the things in our shadows, or we are afraid of admitting things to ourselves. So I am just so proud of myself every day for engaging in this. Like, shadow work is just not something that I ever thought that I would even engage in. And so there's that pride after diving into the fears and the subconscious and the shadows, because it just can be very scary. And I see a lot of couple things as connected. Just there, and this is what I was talking about with the colors earlier. The liminal lounge, right? The liminal space, the void, these kind of undefined areas. There's just my brand, and just like in terms of what shadow work is. When I talk about the shadow, yes, it's shadow motivations, but basically, like, this is just all about, like, finding parts, diving into areas of your life and things that you would want to admit to yourself, things you're afraid of exploring. They can be found in the space that is the liminal lounge. So when I talk about two things being true at the same time, and being both and in terms of like having opinions, or both things are true, that you can have conflicting desires, because we are multifaceted human beings. Queerness, neurodivergence, just multi-passionate, multifaceted, we just can't be tamed. Identity, that's kind of like the identity void, like, but in a not in like, it's not a bad thing. The void, I just feel like the void is like it has a negative connotation, but there's just so much possibilities. So like, I'm just a very visual person, so when it comes to identity, and opinions, like the both and that's connected to Discord. I'm sorry, guys. That's connected to this liminal space that we dive into to unblock patterns in the shadows. So when we're doing hypnotherapy, that is the subconscious. But also, I don't see much of a difference in terms of... No. Okay, well, I'm going to give myself 5 more minutes, okay? This one's going to be a little longer. That's okay. We had a lot to talk about. This is the intro. That kind of scared me. That's the Succession theme song, by the way. But I don't see much of a difference between having a conversation with your subconscious during hypnosis or journaling, because a lot of things get us into hypnotic states, which I'll talk about another time. And, talking to your spirit guides, talking to whatever you see God as, talking to your higher self. It's a connection that is, not in this like tangible 3D world. And that's why the 12th house in astrology, maybe we'll have an episode about that. That's the house of like hidden stuff in depth and death and rebirth, the subconscious and connection to spirit. It loops it all in there. So the shadow, I'm not saying that you having multiple opinions or having a multifaceted identity is shadow. I'm saying that I see it similarly in the sense that we shouldn't be afraid to be in these darker in-between spaces. And there's possibility there, and there's also... there's so much possibility within the parts of yourselves that you do not want to accept. You have a hard time loving and accepting, or that you're ashamed of. There's a... Here we go, Brene Brown. There's a lot of possibility from your shame. Even before healing or slowing down, like not shaming yourself as much. There's just so much possibility there. Also, I kind of see, like you're in a very relaxed, a little bit of an altered state. You're still conscious, but you're present within yourself versus hyper present to your surroundings. When you're in a subconscious coaching state, when you're in a hypnotherapy state. And it's very similar to Mary Jane. I see that as that similar state. It's like the way that I'm just spitting facts right now. So today, this is how it connects to my life. I started therapy right when I graduated college in 2017. And, I feel like I had like a very typical first therapy experience where she was like a little bit of older woman. She was nice, and it was a good start, but there were definitely some questionable things, and I just feel like I didn't get deep as deep as I felt like I needed to really heal, which I had just started admitting to myself that I had problems that I wanted to heal. I never let myself get alone with my thoughts before, and now that's what I do and all I do. um but so then when I started my business, I started doing some Reiki, along with I got a better therapist who was very suited to my mindset and needs and identities, and very open to this kind of stuff and encouraging of me to pursue coaching in this way. And then I started in 2021 getting into hypnotherapy, and then astrology, and then it's been history ever since. But now I really, 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 I've mostly been healing through self-coaching and like subconscious coaching, whether that's tracks or sessions with spiritual mentors and hypnotherapists and astrologers, and life coaches. And it's been great. So today I had an opportunity to be coached and to have a subconscious coaching session and receive what I give. And basically we started talking and just unpacking how I feel about my love life, and I just feel very conflicted about it. So definitely some parts came up. And there's a big part of, people pleasing is like I've said, a big thing I've been working on. And I've had 2 friendships come into my life in the last 18 to 12 months. And we were all in the same friend group at one point as well. And they came on very strong. There definitely was like one blurry line, like, is there something more than friendship here? And they came on very strong. We got very close very fast. And then it was very easy for me to get into my people-pleasing patterns. And we talked about me wanting to stop that, and also at the same time, these are toxic. They are people with toxic tendencies, people that, whether they knew they were doing it or not, kind of took advantage of my kindness. Of course, I really, really, really played a role in it, of course, but it definitely was a mix of like manipulation for some of them, and me choosing to break my back in the way that I did. And just those experiences have been huge healing moments for me. I feel like they obviously brought up a bunch of shadow work. Oh my God. Like, which was basically being confronted with real life situations where I had to take my own advice and have hard conversations with people and set boundaries and end friendships, and then lean on my current support system, which I do not as often as I would like to. Be vulnerable in that way with people and ask for support and guidance. And hasn't been easy. And so that's been on my mind. And then that has just kind of had me be like, really looking into how I respond, how I interact with people, how I'm responsible for my own situations that I'm in, and that came through during the session. There, and I also, I see this with my work life as well. There's a part of me that came through during the session that is a manager part, that basically it's like you have to work hard in a way that it breaks your back in order to receive anything. So sometimes when people buy passive stuff from me, or so as a business example, or be like, I really loved how you did XYZ. And there's a fleeting, but sometimes less fleeting than others, sometimes not fleeting moment where I am like, what did I do? Oh my God, I don't deserve this because I didn't do anything hard enough to deserve this, essentially. Like, I don't feel like I gave enough effort to deserve that. And then when it comes to my love life, I want to be more intentional with the relationships that I enter. I feel like that hasn't happened up until, or like the last relationship I got into, I was 20 years old, and then I got out of it when I was 26. And obviously then I had never really been mature and intentional with who I chose to date up until that point. But then my manager part is translating that into, you have to like eat, pray, love. You have to do all this therapy, and you have to write down a big list of what you want, and you have to then date like it's the Olympics and like it's your job until you find the one. And it's just like so serious. That's another thing that came up, was like wanting more play and ease and levity in my life. Like, again, we don't take ourselves too seriously here. We have fun. But in my own brain, she can take things just way too serious sometimes. So she needs to be canceled. Just kidding. And so I'm opening, so that was shadow work that we did today, and that is shadow work, is admitting that. And then now the shadow work is going to be living by this way and implementing all of this. So that would be not controlling dating situations to the T, not thinking I have to, not changing for others, letting myself organically meet someone, or they come to me. Letting myself learn through experiences and just start imperfectly rather than not start at all. And to allow myself to have fun. And that's business and dating. So yeah, honestly, this podcast is a big, fun thing for me. The membership is going to be very fun. And I just want to allow it to be easy. And I feel like when people in the online business space say that, they mean like, I'm allowing it to be easy. I'm going to do a lot less work. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about getting PayPal notifications while I'm sipping pina coladas, which could be my life. I'm talking about, though, not allowing my brain to tell myself to make it harder for myself by the thoughts that I'm thinking, or giving myself pointless busy work, or putting so much pressure on myself to be and do something. And just trusting that I have I know what correct path I'm choosing, and I have it in me to make it happen. What a nice ending. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm very excited for this podcast journey. Again, the next ones will likely be a little shorter, but I'm really proud of myself for 44 minutes TBH, because the last one was an hour and a half. Yeah, so you're welcome. Everyone wants I want long form content for myself, so I'm very excited about this. Very excited to be on YouTube, very excited to be on all the podcast platforms. I'm very excited for the next one. I have so many good topics that I want to do, and yeah. Yeah. All of my social media, TikTok and Instagram, will be linked below. And so will my links for my sessions, my subconscious assessments, and all of my podcast episodes that I've been on. So enjoy. Love ya. And sayonara. Thanks for diving into the void with me, Nikki Vergakes, your queer and neurospicy astrologer, hypnotherapist, and business and life mentor and coach. I hope you found lots of meaning today in the liminal space with me. Did you have fun in the Liminal Lounge? DM and let me know, or tag me on Instagram and TikTok at Nikki_Vergakes. You can find that link in the show notes. And check the show notes to book a session with me or work with me in the many ways that you can, and get connected to other Liminal Lounge attendees. Don't forget to leave a review. See you next time in the Liminal Lounge.